Hey, and welcome back to another video. So Apple just concluded with their WWDC 2021 session, and they announced iOS 15, iPadOS 15, MacOSX Monterey, and WatchOS 8. And in this video, I'll be giving you a list of all the devices that will be supported by said OSs. A lot of people were really happy when they announced this, as some devices that we thought that wouldn't be supported with the new OSs were actually supported, especially when it comes to two of those devices on iOS and iPadOS. We did not see that coming, and that's a great thing because Apple is supporting older devices for a really long time, and this is probably going to be the final update for those devices. But hey, we never know what Apple has in store for us. Anyway, before we jump right into this video, don't forget to smash that like button and hit that subscribe button if you already haven't. And don't forget to check out all my social media down in the description below, which includes Instagram, Discord, and Twitter. And now let's jump right into this video, starting with iOS compatibility. So the iOS compatibility is as on screen here as per Apple's website, and now obviously the newer devices were going to be supported. That's no big deal there. We knew that was coming. But what's surprising here is the iPhone 6s and the iPhone SE, which are basically the same phone. The SE is like a toned down 6s with identical specifications and a smaller size and an older body. But the 6s, mind you, was released in 2015. And was the first phone with the Force Touch feature, and it shipped with iOS 9, which makes it, when supported with iOS 15, it supported 6 major updates, and overall supported 7 iOS versions, which includes iOS 9. iOS 9 to iOS 15 is 7 major updates when you count iOS 9 itself, the OS it shipped with. So it joins the iPad 2 as the longest supported iOS devices in history. And I'll be discussing the iPad 2 in the next segment, which is iPadOS. So it's really nice to see that Apple actually decided to give the iPhone 6s and the SE iOS 15, because a lot of people in the rumors were saying that there's no way that the 6s and the SE are going to get iOS 15, but it turns out probably Apple decided to give them the OS as the processors can handle iOS 15, which also means iOS 15 is probably really less taxing on hardware, which is nice to see, an upgrade from iOS 14 in terms of reduction in hardware taxation. That stuff will all be discussed by people who get into depth when it comes to software engineering. I'm not an expert on software engineering. However, that's kind of the obvious reason as to why the 6s and the SE would get iOS 15, and that's a great thing. Apple is supporting older devices longer, because everyone thought that the iPhone 7 was the one that's going to get iOS 15. It'll be the minimum to run iOS 15, but no, the 6s and the SE get it, which also is good news for iPhone 7 users, because that means the iPhone 7 will be able to run iOS 16 next year, which is amazing news. And that is the compatibility for iOS on all the devices as mentioned earlier. iOS 15, great job when it comes to compatibility on Apple's part. Big thumbs up there. Now let's move on to discussing iPadOS compatibility. Now these are the list of the devices that are supported, and obviously the newer devices get them again, as with iOS as well. But the star of the show here is the iPad Air 2. This thing just does not want to quit. Mind you, this was released way back in 2014. It was Apple's first and only Trico powered iOS device, because back then it supported iOS. There was no such thing as iPadOS. The Apple A8X is Apple's only known triple-core A-series processor. Unlike the A8, which was a dual-core, the A8X was a triple-core, and it shipped with iPadOS, well, I will call it iOS. It shipped with iOS 8.1, so basically iOS 8. So that makes it up to iOS 15. 7 supported OSs, and if you add iOS 8 into the mix, the OS that it shipped with, that's 8 OSs. Just let that sink in. 8 OSs. Name one other device in history that has supported so many OS updates. Sure, you some people don't want to count the 8 because that's the one it's shipped with, but you still technically have to count it because it supported it. It ran with it. So iOS 8 to iOS 15, 8 iOS versions. I keep calling it iOS, but it's iPadOS. But still, 8 supported OSs. That's a huge deal. And I was honestly expecting, because I have an iPad Air 2. I don't really use iPads, so I'm still sticking with my Air 2 for like checking my emails and stuff. But I was really, really surprised that this thing is actually getting support for iPadOS 15. Obviously, it's not going to have all the features like the newer iPad Pros. That's kind of obvious, but still, it's amazing to see that that old thing can still power through iPadOS 15. The Trico A8X is still doing an amazing job, as is evident with the support for iPadOS 15. So big thumbs up to Apple on the support of the iPad Air 2 on iPadOS 15, and I'm pretty sure this will probably be its last. It has to be. There's no way Apple can drag it a bit longer. But who knows? Apple may give it iPadOS 16. One could never know. But either way, this makes the iPad Air 2 easily the longest supported mobile device in history, because there's no other device that I can find. Let me know down in the comments if there's another one. But as far as I can find, there's nothing that has ever supported 8 major OSs. So big thumbs up to Apple on that department. Now moving on to MacOSX Monterey. So now moving on to macOS Monterey, and this was something that surprised me. I wasn't expecting an update for the MacBook Pro 2014 edition, and it eventually was not supported, as you can see on the list there. However, something that did surprise me is the 2014 Mac Mini, which is, by the way, really old at this point as of 2021. The Mac Mini supports it, but the 2014 MacBook Pro doesn't support it. Now, don't get me wrong, the Mac Mini is plugged in. It's a plugged-in device, and it has things behind the scenes that the MacBook Pro obviously can't do, despite the configurations and stuff being different and all. But still, the Mac Mini and the MacBook Pro, usually the MacBook Pros were way more pricier than the Mac Mini, and yeah, even the base MacBook Pro in 2014 was more than the Mac Mini's the base price Mac Mini. So it's kind of strange that the MacBook Pro 2014 didn't get MacOSX Monterey, but the Mac Mini got it. But maybe Apple had their reasoning. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that goes in the background when you're comparing a mini PC with a laptop. So those are some things that I don't personally understand. I'm not an expert on software, like I mentioned earlier. However, if you know the reason to this, let me know down in the comments. I'll be glad to pin your comment so that everyone else can see it as well. So the MacBook Pro 2014 is no longer supported with macOSX Monterey, but the Mac Mini 2014 is the minimum requirement to run macOSX Monterey. And this is a list of all the other Mac devices also supported. The Mac Pro 2013, as expected, will be also supported, and it actually is the minimum. I'm sorry, I mentioned the Mac Mini as the minimum, but no, the Mac Pro 2013 is the minimum. But then again, it's a much more powerful device, so it's kind of obvious that it gets the support, and it's a professional grade device, so yeah, that's kind of expected. So that was just a quick go around of what the devices are supported on macOSX Monterey. Now moving on to the final category, which is watchOS. So finally, we move on to watchOS 8, and this is a list of the supported watches that will run watchOS 8. And now, as you can see, the Apple Watch 3 is still here. And yes, the Series 3 is still being supported, and it's somewhat becoming the iPhone 6s and the iPad Air 2 of Apple Watches, because it supported 4 major updates as of now. So that will be iOS 5, iOS 6, iOS 7, and now iOS 8. So 4 major supported updates, and if you include the OS that it shipped with, which is iOS 4, that means it ran 5 major OSs. The watch is still for sale on Apple's website. The Apple Watch Series 3 is still for sale, And I believe that it's one of those devices that Apple is keeping just there for the super budget range for those who don't want to purchase the Apple Watch SE. So if you still want to purchase the Series 3 and your budget is not for the SE, you still can go for the Series 3. It's being supported with WatchOS 8, but I'd still recommend getting a SE if you're going for the budget Apple Watch, because the Apple Watch 3 is not going to get all the features, obviously. It's going to get some features, but it's not going to get all the features. But still, it's really surprising to see Apple still holding on to the Apple Watch 3 and continuing production as well. This was a big surprise for a lot of people as well. Mind you, 5 major OSs. It got 4 updates and it ran 5 major OSs, which is really, really amazing. It's glad to see that Apple is still holding on to older devices and helping people extend the lifespan of their older devices. Anyways, that was just a quick list of all the devices that are supported on iOS 15, iPadOS 15, macOSX Monterey, and WatchOS 8, and I hope this video helped you know that whether or not your device is supported. As usual, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a thumbs up on this video and smash that subscribe button if you already haven't. Don't forget to check out my social media down in the description below. Thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in my next video.